What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here with another transfer update to bring you today. I've got Mark Ben Umram with me yet again. How are you doing over there in quarantine, Mark? Keeping well?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Just like everybody else, getting through isolation. The sun's out now, so it's a little bit difficult, but we've got to do what we've got to do.
Yeah, you got a nice little beard growing there as well, Mark, don't you?
My isolation beard.
Yeah. So obviously we spoke a lot last week about a couple of deals, Haaland and a few other things. But since then, Daniel Levy has come out and said that that we shouldn't really be speaking about transfer rumours in this climate. And also another thing has been come out and said that Spurs are going to be hit big time this summer with the transfers and kind of our budget. What do you make out of all of that?
Yeah, like I think I touched on it last week in last week's video that in terms of the transfer market, it's not going to be the same for the foreseeable future, especially not this summer. Not surprised in the slightest to see Daniel Levy being one of the first to talk about how transfers are going to affect us. And I think he was doing that before the coronavirus. So as in, never mind now there is this pandemic. What's going to happen? But he's right. I think clubs will be acting in a different way for sure. Spurs already have a certain way of acting, so even more so, I think we're going to be more prudent this summer. But that doesn't mean there won't be any business done whatsoever. It's a bit of an uncertain time. Clubs will still be looking to do some business though, and I think Spurs will still be one of those clubs, but they won't perhaps be these big mega money deals. But when is there ever big mega money deals at Spurs? So
Yeah, but moving on from Spurs, not just talking about Spurs, but do you think there'll be many big money moves in general throughout the whole of Europe, kind of thing?
No, I think it's really the severity of the situation. Like it's definitely going to have a knock-on effect in terms of how businesses run, and football is a business, and the expenditures and the revenues. So there's a lot to take into consideration. So I do see there being some effect. For sure. I'm not sure that these big mega money deals, that the Neymar deals and the Gareth Bale type deals, if they're going to be done the way, that they've been rumoured to have been wanting to be done in the past, the hundreds of millions, I don't see that happening this summer. Having said that, there's definitely still murmurings regarding, someone like Jadon Sancho going to Manchester United, and that seems to be quite concrete. So it doesn't seem like Manchester United are necessarily slowing down. So yeah, I definitely think there's going to be an effect. But like anything at the moment in the world, never mind just football, it's wait and see.
And last point I want to touch on is that there's a lot of talk about Harry Kane moving on this summer. I personally don't believe it's going to happen. But in terms of the whole climate and coronavirus and everyone's transfer budget being affected, surely if Kane did want to leave this summer, it's coming at a wrong time for him.
Yeah, I don't think Harry Kane is going to leave this summer. I don't think anybody's going to begrudge a move in 12 months' time if Spurs are still in the same situation as we find ourselves, pre the season stopping. I think he's made it pretty clear that he is going to be here this season. Next season, whenever that is to start, he's looking forward to working more with Jose Mourinho. But he has also said if the club doesn't, look to win trophies, he said he will look elsewhere, and I think that's perfectly understandable. I think it's been, made pretty clear. And to me, it's a message of, I'm going to be here another year, and then we'll see. Others may take that as no, it could be a few years. To me, I think we're looking to see where Spurs are at in 12 months' time, and then looking at Harry Kane's future.
All right, and let's get stuck into some incomings. And the one I want to start off with is a player, actually, I really thought that we should have gone for about a year ago. He went to Wolves for not that much money in today's climate, £30 million, Raul Jimenez. Is there anything you can tell me about him?
So it's unsurprising that we've been linked to him. He's definitely a striker which suits the mould of someone we'd be looking to sign as a Harry Kane replacement, or when Harry Kane's injured. He's someone we've been linked to the last couple of years as well. And you're right, he went to Wolves for a not big money move, quite under the radar. That move happened without too much competition, and he's proven to be a really, really adequate striker. In terms of where that rumour's at, it's been reported by ESPN, ESPN FC. In terms of tiers, that's a tier 5, I would put it as 1 being the best and 4 being the least reliable. And ESPN FC, unfortunately, near the bottom of that. So they're a 3.5. So in terms of any concrete information regarding Raul Jimenez, there's nothing too much in it at the moment. Not surprised that there's links there. I'm sure they'll continue into the summer as well. But the amount of money they'll be asking for him, and Wolves currently, if in a better position than Spurs if the season were to continue. So not too much into that at the moment.
Yeah, and as you said, Wolves will probably demand quite a lot of money, seeing as they only just signed him for around 30 million. So I think that probably 60 million at the very least.
Yeah, of course. And he'd be worth it. But yeah, that's the sort of money you'd be talking.
Next up is a player that I was probably excited about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. A centre-back who plied his trade at Atletico Madrid, then moved on to Inter Milan in Diego Godin. A very experienced centre-back. What do you make out of him? Is there any rumours about him?
Yeah, it's one of those, again, where, we know that these are the sort of players which, if Mauricio Pochettino was still in charge, would be nowhere near linked, with players like Diego Godin. He's 15 years too old to be linked with a Mauricio Pochettino team.
Yeah.
But in terms of Jose Mourinho, these are the sort of players that, he's going to be linked with, experienced winners, especially at centre-back. A player like Diego Godin, no surprise to see us linked with him now. We're managed by Jose Mourinho. This has been linked by the Daily Mirror. Pretty mixed accuracy in terms of how the Mirror report their transfer news. They're a tier 3, so tier 3 is not the best. It's a mixed bag. These are the sort of players we're going to be linked with, I think, under Jose Mourinho, and probably under where Daniel Levy sees our kind of transfer strategy. Usually we're linked with young players up and coming, and I'm sure Daniel Levy would prefer that too. But in terms of transfer fees, Diego Godin isn't going to cost a lot, and that's going to be the sort of that's going to speak to Daniel Levy and speak to Jose Mourinho too. So it's a nice link. It fits in terms again of its reliability. It's a tier 3, slightly more reliable than the Jimenez rumours at the moment, but it feels a bit of fantasy land in terms of these sort of players. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah. And the next one I want to talk about is someone actually I'm really excited about, a position that we've been crying out for since Kyle Walker left. Youssef Attal, playing for Nice and Algeria. Very fast, pacey right-back winger. What did you make out of him?
Yeah, Attal's someone who has been linked to the club over the last 12 months or so, maybe even more. And from what I understand, there was genuine interest there. It wasn't made up stuff. There was some genuine interest. I think Spurs probably should change our name to Interest FC. That seems to be, we seem to be interested with everybody under the sun. And if we can't get a deal, then we move on. Yeah. But there did seem to be some concrete interest there for sure. And this kind of report at the moment is taken last week from Sport Bild in Germany. They're a 2.5 in terms of where they fit on the scale. So more reliable. We're definitely getting to the reliable side of things. They're saying that there is interest there, no more than that. And that probably fits to kind of the narrative. Like I say, we're going to, there's definitely going to be interest there. There is interest there. I think that's fact, or it was fact 12 months ago. Again, with Jose Mourinho now in charge, you just never know. But from a club perspective, there was interest there. Bild are suggesting there is still interest there. We'll wait and see what happens this summer. But Bild is slightly more reliable than the others. So it's an interesting one. Attal's had a serious injury, so we shouldn't forget that. So it's one of those, and it's a position we're crying out for in terms of fullback. So there's no doubt that if we are looking to improve in the transfer window, fullback is going to be one of those areas. So that's where we are with that. We will definitely look to sign a fullback, I'm sure, even in this current situation. And he's one of those names.
Definitely. And the last two I want to talk about, the first one is one that we broke on We Are Tottenham TV in the January transfer window. Apparently his agent was at Hotspur Way in Olivier Giroud. Is that one still a goer for the summer?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Like you say, we talked about it when it happened. In terms of that rumor breaking
When
that
it
you
not
guys
happened.
did. Oh yeah, I guess kind of when when the rumor happened.
Yeah.
I think the interest is very credible. For sure, it was in January, and for sure, it's a viable option for the summer. I mean, Olivier Giroud is someone who, maybe he's been playing in recent weeks and months. Nobody's been playing in recent weeks, but maybe before the season stopped, he was back in favour. But I don't think that Frank Lampard sees him as one of his main men moving forwards. And I think there's a realization that he will move on this summer. Interest from Inter Milan and Lazio, that's definitely been reported in Italy, and I think that's been pretty concrete. The understanding is he's open to those moves. He's also open to staying in London. Really likes London. He's open to staying. Spurs' interest was genuine in January, sorry. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them look to him as a viable option in the summer. In terms of kind of where that's at, it's currently being reported. It's been reported with quite a few outlets. At the moment, it's Corriere dello Sport in Italy saying that Spurs are definitely still interested in rivaling Lazio and Inter for his signature. Corriere dello Sport are a tier 3. So again, it's mixed accuracy. But in terms of substance and what we've seen in recent weeks and months in terms of his name being linked, I think it is one definitely to watch out for in terms of the summer. Once we get going again, I can definitely see Spurs looking at him again. I don't think they see him as a Harry Kane, a replacement for Harry Kane, but more as a backup striker. So it's up to Olivier Giroud to see where does he want to play first team football. But in terms of backup striker to Harry Kane, it's a really good option in my opinion. I think Spurs will look at it again, and the Italian press seems to think they will too. So again, it's one of those where we'll see in the coming weeks and probably the coming months that rumour resurface again.
Yeah, I agree with you that he is a great backup option to have. I think he proved it against us this year as well. At Stamford Bridge, I thought he played us off the park. He was absolutely brilliant with his nice little touches. And I think it's much more of a goer than Raul Jimenez is anyway. But let's move on to last but not least, and it is a player that we've been linked with that's nearly signed for us in Willian. What can you tell me about him?
Yeah, this one started in January, I think even before. Actually,
well, in
January.
2013.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, obviously in terms of what could have been in terms of Willian, but in terms of the kind of resurfacing, I think it's resurfaced ever since Jose Mourinho came to Spurs. I think there's no secret that Willian's contract is winding down now. Up in the summer, doesn't seem like there's any breakthrough in terms of contract negotiations with Chelsea. I think the player said that himself. The player has also said he likes London. The player has also said he respects Jose Mourinho, having worked with him previously. It all adds up, doesn't it? I don't know how Spurs fans will feel about it. I think they'll be quite mixed based on what the player did himself, in terms of turning us down for Chelsea. He's not been a fan favourite with Spurs fans since then. It's a tough one, but in terms of the transfer making sense, it certainly does. This story's been reported by everybody under the sun in terms of it potentially happening. 2 names to shout out. One is the Daily Telegraph, and they're a tier 2 source, but it's quite reliable, saying Spurs are definitely interested in this move. Most recently, it's from Mundo Deportivo in Spain, which is an interesting one, maybe with some Barcelona connection, because Willian's also been linked to Barcelona for a number of years. They're saying Spurs definitely interested in the player. And it's like Olivier Giroud. I think, those two to me are the ones we've named are screaming out as viable options based on their price, based on, but definitely based on their price or lack of price, based on the fact they both live in London and would be interested in staying in London. I'm not sure it says much about where Spurs are going forward. I don't know. I think that's sort of up to debate, that we're looking at these deals and thinking, yeah, they make sense because they're financially prudent. That's probably the best Spurs at the moment. This whole situation in terms of the world is at the moment. But certainly in terms of Spurs' strategy, those two could be viable options going forward. Yeah.
The thing is, though, with Daniel Levy, he doesn't really like to sign players without sell-on value. I know we got Fernando Llorente in the past, Ryan Nelson, but it doesn't happen very often. I think I can see Giroud being a goer, but I just can't see Godin or Willian coming to Spurs at this stage. For me, if it was up to me, I would offer Willian the contract and rip it up right in his face.
Yeah, I think maybe. I think maybe most Spurs fans will think the same about it. I think it's just based on Jose Mourinho. If Jose Mourinho likes him and wants him, it's not like really. It's not. There's no actual record to suggest a Spurs manager gets the targets he wants.
Yeah.
As we know. But it does feel that like if Jose Mourinho wanted these two players, maybe they would happen because that they could be they could save the club a lot of money. Willian does want a 3-year contract though, just to throw that into the mix. So it would be interesting to see whether Daniel Levy likes that sort of deal. But yes, usually like I think I said at the start, our transfer policy has been the opposite of this. In recent years, it's buy young, it's buy to sell on, really. And then let's call it how it is. That is our business model. Spurs fans won't want to hear it, but a lot of the time it is. I think maybe there's a little more give in terms of the Spurs hierarchy now to say, okay, maybe we will buy established stars, as long as they are at a good price for us. And these two definitely fit that bill. All
right. Well, thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming on yet again, giving us your great insight. If any of you want to know where to find him, where can we find you, Mark?
Well, you can find me at Twitter. That's where I mainly am posting daily stories at Mark_BA12. Daily stories about Spurs and transfers.
All right. Well, thank you very much yet again. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of these rumours. Do any of these names fill you with excitement? Me, for one, Atal probably the most. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come you Spurs.